Today's review is I Know What You Did Last Summer. I have my trusty VHS copy here with this shiny, shiny cover, which is pretty cool. I have some fond memories of this movie, especially, of course, when it was the newer, popular movie, came out on VHS, things like that. I watched it just about as much as I watched Scream. I really dug the movie. Probably hasn't held up as well as Scream, I'd say. But the 90s, they were a crazy time for horror. It was kind of Scream that gave the genre a change, especially the slasher genre, which kind of gave studios this idea to, hey, let's take this shitty type of slasher movie, but put big, trendy teen stars in it, and people will come to see it, and things like that. And I think aside from Scream, that's pretty much the only thing that they changed. Like, the spirit remained the same. It was still kind of a schlocky killer in the dark, chasing the stupid kid, except now they had a big star for it. So, such is the case, I'd say, with I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it has, in terms of casting, a lot more than what Scream had going for it. I mean, it has four of the, at the time, like the biggest, hottest stars, the heartthrobs for both guys and girls. I mean, we have Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, and Freddie Prinze Jr. all in the movie. And I mean, those were like the biggest heartthrob stars. I can't begin to tell you how in love with Sarah Michelle Gellar I was. Still am. Call me Sarah. But it had something for everybody. It had something for the guys in the audience, the girls in the audience. So, there was that. But at the end of the day, it is kind of like a standard slasher type of movie, except maybe this one's just a little bit more plot heavy, and that's not necessarily in a good way. Maybe because it is based on a novel. It's based on a novel that shares the same name, I Know What You Did Last Summer, by Lois Duncan. That's pretty much where the relation stops. I do actually remember at the time when the movie came out, when it was newer, after I saw it, I want to read the book, because as they do, they'll re-release the book in paperback. They'll have the cover of the movie on the book. I'm like, okay, cool. But I remember getting a few chapters into it. I was like, what the fuck? This is nothing like the movie. I don't want to read this. So I would say confidently, though, I don't recall ever finishing the book. It's very much not related to the movie whatsoever. So Lois Duncan's novel was completely changed. And she also wrote Killing Mr. Griffin, which became Teaching Mrs. Tingle. So the 90s were a lucrative time for Lois Duncan. But Kevin Williamson, of course, who wrote Scream, he wrote the screenplay. So really what it's more about is kind of taking this concept that I Know What You Did Last Summer, that hook, so to speak, and kind of mixing it with urban legend of, the hook in the car tale of the boy and girl out, making out on so-and-so makeout point, and turning that into the type of slasher. And given that concept, I think it works okay. It definitely, basically, here's the plot of the movie. We have these four teens. They're graduating high school. They have their whole lives ahead of them, as they often do. They have everything planned out. They know what they want out of life. They're ambitious. They're gonna take the bull of life by the horns and just, succeed in life, basically. They have their hopes, their dreams, things like that. But on the 4th of July, they're out partying. They're driving on the road, and one of them is drinking. He swerves the car and he spills booze on the driver. Then they hit this guy and he's dead. And they say, the cops will never believe us because I got booze all over me, blah, blah, blah. What are we going to do? This will ruin our perfect life that we have ahead of us. What are we going to do? And then, of course, they cover up the murder, and that's pretty much it. But a year later, someone knows what they did last summer. And seeing that year later, we kind of get the idea that this event has kind of ruined them anyway, and their lives are not what they thought it to be. So maybe it is because they're just so tortured by the guilt, or maybe just because life sucks and your dreams never come true. But, whatever. That's a good message for the kids watching the movie. But they're all kind of separated. Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Phillippe were a couple, and Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt, they were a couple, but they've all kind of broken up, split up, but then they reunite because of someone's leaving these notes. I know what you did last summer. And basically it's a killer and a fisherman suit and a hook going out to kill them. And that's it. I mean, that's the basic concept of the movie. But what it does is it kind of just complicates the plot way more than it needs to, making this whole big mystery, which is so convoluted. I barely still, I've like tried and tried and tried. I've taken notes down to understand this plot, but I still can't do it. But I mean, forgetting all that, it does work as a slasher movie. I think it really does, especially, you know, we have these trendy stars, which are really good. I mean, they're not bad actors, but the material is kind of stupid. But they, you know, give okay performances. Of course, with the Ryan Phillippe character, he's very skeptical. Like, oh, I know what you did last summer. Ooh, I was like, I wonder who's going to be first to die. So they all kind of picked off one by one, and of course, the killer, he picks off innocent bystanders. By the way, one aspect to this, and which I was watching it recently, just to kind of get it fresh in my mind. One thing that's kind of upsetting, we have the Sarah Michelle Gellar character, she's the beauty queen. You know, she's Miss Thang or whatever, and her life kind of goes awry, and she has to work at her father's shop or whatever. And her sister, who's more of like the plain Jane, she's just thrilled by this, and she's like, "You're working for me now, bitch." And you know, there's that kind of relationship. And the father doesn't seem really involved. We see him just kind of watching TV at one point. But you got to think, like, in this movie, spoilers by the way, killer kills not only Sarah Michelle Gellar's sister, but Sarah Michelle Gellar. So he kills them both. So this guy, he just lost both his daughters from this crazy killer. So it's kind of sad now that I think about it, but, you know, whatever. All kind of leads to the big kind of finale, and killing these innocent bystanders. Johnny Galecki, he's in the movie, who's this perpetual teenager who's kind of shows up as kind of like a red herring. They think, oh, maybe it's him who saw them because he was there during the event. But no, he gets killed, he gets slashed. So they finally figure things out, which I can't even begin to explain. I'll try to figure it out at some point. But it all amounts to this fisherman guy. He did it. He's the one who saw them. Ben Willis is his name, played by Muse Watson, who's very good in the role. I mean, it's a thankless role, but at least he gets a little more to work with than your run-of-the-mill Jason or Michael Myers. He gets a little bit of dialogue, and he's very creepy and very good in the movie. And what I do like, it amounts to this chase scene at the end, as we always see in these types of movies, but it's something a little bit different. It's on this boat, which it's such a contained area that I think a chase like that kind of gives it more of a flair. Like, she's like running around, she gets into the portion of the boat where, you know, all the fish are like packed in ice, but there's dead bodies in there, and that's pretty cool. And yeah, I think it's not bad. The slasher portions of the movie, I'll say, are very good. Sarah Michelle Gellar, I love her to death. Jennifer Love Hewitt, I love her to death. Ryan Phillippe, Freddie Prinze Jr., they're all right. It's fine. I mean, it's a fine, stupid movie, but with just too much plot that kind of ruins it. It tries to be something a little bit more than it really is. It tries to be this kind of intricate mystery that we all like are supposed to care about, but I don't care. I'm just struggling to figure it out. So we have this Ben Willis guy who's killing these kids for some reason, because there was this other kid, Barry Egan, who was committing suicide, or was he? We see him at the beginning of the movie. He really killed Ben Egan for some reason. Ben wanted to kill him, or Barry Egan, he wanted to kill himself because his girlfriend died a year before. Anne Heche is his sister or something like that. Ben Willis came to visit him, or I think Freddie Prinze Jr. went to visit her, or something like that. She's all this stuff, and I'm trying to figure it out. And I think I almost got it. I think I've kind of figured out that all this plot, I do think actually it means a lot more than maybe meets the eye, like now that I'm thinking about it. Because if you think about it, if we kind of align all the elements of the plot together, it does add up to something a lot larger, I think, if you'll think for a moment. Now, there is David Egan, who the teens believe to have murdered that night. He had a girlfriend who died a year prior on that same road as a result of a car accident. Or was it an accident? What did she know? Who did Ben Willis want to silence, and what was he covering up? We know now they didn't really hit David Egan with their car that night, but Ben Willis, the cloaked fisherman. What was he doing on that road? And what was across that road? The grassy knoll. Across from that, the book depository, where Oswald was reportedly awaiting confirmation that never came. Was Ben Willis meant to report that confirmation? How do we know? 4 teenagers disrupted the plans on that day in November 1963, so we're meant to believe. The car crash makes a pretty good distraction. Police attention reverts from the parade route to the search for David. The president passes the knoll and the depository. Shots are fired. It all came together. But by whose invention? Who stood to benefit? Who stood to gain from this? And how? Maybe these 4 teenagers had a lot more involvement than we initially believed them to have. Julie James, Helen Shivers, Barry Cox, Ray Bronson, David Egan, Ben Willis. They're all part of something larger. We cannot avert our gaze to this conspiracy, and we cannot remain silent in questioning. President Kennedy deserves those to answer for their crimes. I Know What You Did Last Summer may hold the key. Or maybe it's just a shitty movie, I don't know. But that's my review of I Know What You Did Last Summer. Not bad, not great, but I have nostalgic memories of it. It's okay to watch every now and then, but when we compare it to something like Scream, definitely doesn't hold up. Not a bit. So there's that to consider. So thank you very much for watching. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Visit Derek237.com and stay tuned for more 31 Days of Horror reviews coming at you all this month, October. New horror movie reviews every day. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, stay scared, and I'll see you later.